11. Could you please rename your name for the presenter today? Okay, thank you for rename your presenter group 6. Okay, maybe the others could you please rename Zoom, so we will assign you as the host.
Saya Muslika, alumni Prodi Kearsipan BBSMB Sekolah Vokasi UGM. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai arsiparis di Arsip UGM. Saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Prodi Kearsipan BBSMB Sekolah Vokasi UGM karena sudah memberikan banyak pengetahuan, keterampilan, dan kesempatan kepada saya untuk mendapatkan pengalaman-pengalaman di bidang kearsipan. Ini sangat membantu saya, sangat bermanfaat bagi saya ketika saya menjadi seorang arsiparis.
Halo, perkenalkan, nama saya Khairul Anwar, saya lulusan DBSMB Sekolah Vokasi Universitas Gadjah Mada. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai Marketing and Communications dari Royal Ambarukmo, Yogyakarta. Terima kasih DBSMB Sekolah Vokasi Universitas Gadjah Mada telah mengajari saya untuk menjadi pribadi yang profesional dan memiliki integritas.
Hai, saya Ain Kurnia. Saya merupakan alumni program studi kepariwisataan DBSMB Sekolah Vokasi UGM. Kali ini saya bekerja sebagai Chief Supervisor di Starbucks Coffee. Saya ingin berterima kasih kepada DBSMB Sekolah Vokasi UGM yang telah memberikan ilmu dan pengalamannya selama kuliah sehingga dapat bermanfaat hingga saya bekerja sekarang ini. Terima kasih.
Departemen Bahasa, Seni, dan Manajemen Budaya Sekolah Vokasi UGM mempersiapkan Anda memenangkan masa depan.
lain. Good afternoon, Miss Yohana. Thank you for your attendance. How are you today, Miss Yohana?
Hi, Miss Dewi.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I can unmute myself now.
Welcome to the Zoom meeting, Ms. Johanna and all participants. Mbak Nina, are you ready for the opening?
Yes, Mbak. Am I audible clearly?
At 3 p.m. ya?
Halo? Halo? Miss Johanna, can you hear me?
Sure, Miss.
Yeah, Ninda, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Thank
But
you.
the voice is slow. Okay. What about my voice?
Clear enough.
Good afternoon. Is it Zaki? Hi, Zaki. I'm good. Thank you, Zaki. What about you?
Hello, I'm fine to miss you.
Okay, great, Zaki. Thank you.
Stereophonic sound for the home is recorded on 2 separate tracks, each one giving special emphasis to certain sections of the orchestra, as heard from those positions. Now, when played back simultaneously on 2 separate systems, the sounds are blended together to achieve a new dimension in sound, impossible to obtain in a monaural recording.
Enggak, PC.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back again to Event Talk. Now we are having Event Talk the 11 with the theme of the politics of humor and social constructions with the main speaker, Mr. Vincentius Tangguh, SPDM Hum, as the English lecturer from Vocational College, UGM. Before we get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Karaninda Siregar, and I will lead the whole discussions this afternoon. And we will start from the rules. I believe that all the participants here must have used to with webinar rules, but I will repeat again. From the first, the committee record the entire webinar sessions. And then webinar participants are requested to turn off the microphone. Third, webinar participants are requested not to interrupt the speaker when the speakers are delivering the material. Fourth, participants are allowed to ask questions when the questions and answer sessions is started by the moderator by writing in the chat box or unmute yourself if I tell you to. And the last, at the end of the sessions, participants will be given a link to fill out an evaluation survey to get an e-certificate. Besides that, we also have translations on the chat box. So although we are having the whole sessions in English language, you can directly read the translations on the chat box. And also you need to fill out a presentation form in order to get e-certificate. Don't forget to fill out the form, friends. So before we get started, I would like to read our agenda today. First, we will start with Indonesia Raya. Next, we will have opening remark from Mrs. Yohana Ika Harnitasari, SPDM Hum, as the head of D3 English Study Program. And we will have first sessions, which is from our first student presenter, which will be discussing disaster and cultural approach. And the second sessions with the theme of childcare and education, parents as teachers during pandemic. The third sessions, we will having sessions from the student presenter from Universitas Negeri Malang, who will discuss about Pembatja to Sebuah hybrid identity in Indonesia text. And the last from student presenter, we will have a student presenter from IAIN Manado, who will discuss about religion, the experiences of conflicts and its solutions. The last sessions will be brought by our lecturer, Mr. Vincentius Tangguh, SPDM Hum. So without further ado, we will sing Indonesia Raya. Please behave yourself. Thank you. Before we start our interesting sessions today, we will hear from Mrs. Yohana Ika Harnitasari, SPDM Hum, as the head of D3 English Study Program, Vocational College, Universitas Gadjah Mada. For Miss Yohana, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Karaninda. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good afternoon, dear speakers, presenters, committee, and all the participants of webinar Event Talk 11. How are you? Hope all of you are healthy, happy, and also spirited to join this webinar. One of the advantages that we can get from this pandemic era is that we are able to conduct seminar in which the speakers or presenters, the committee and participants are in different places. And of course, by taking the advantage of technology advancement. And through this online seminar or webinar, we can gather participants from East Java, North Sulawesi, Yogyakarta, and also from many other cities in Indonesia. I do really appreciate the committee from MICE Management class, Indonesian Cross-Culture Communication class, and Public Relation Internship from Vocational College, Universitas Gadjah Mada, for having great collaboration with the students from Universitas Negeri Malang or UM Malang, and Himpunan Mahasiswa or Student Association from IAIN Manado to conduct this webinar. I believe from the preparation and also from the execution of this event, you not only get fruitful experience, but more than that, you are building your network. Well, this afternoon, we have a keynote speaker, Pak Vincent, aka Pak Tangguh. Okay, you know that Pak Vincent is a very humorous person. His comments often make people laugh. So no doubt, he is the funniest lecturer in our study program. Furthermore, he understands very well about what is beyond humor. So that is why Pak Vincent will be talking about the politics of humor and social construction. And we are also going to listen to some student presenters discussing about various interesting topics this afternoon. I do believe we can learn a lot from all the presenters. So enjoy the webinar, everyone. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Miss Yohana, for the opening remark. Now we are heading to our first sessions. Actually, today's event talk will be discussing. I would like to mention again about our theme today, which is the politics of humor and social construction. First speaker, we will hear from Anggun, Alvina, Lintang, and Febrianti from Universitas Gadjah Mada, who will discuss about disaster and cultural approach. For the presenters, the time is yours.
Is it already shown? Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Salam Sejahtera bagi kita semua. Good afternoon all. We are from Group 5. We'll present about Labuhan Merapi, an ancient tradition to ward of danger. First of all, let me introduce my group member. The first is Alvina, Anggun, third is Dwi, and last is Milintang. And let's get started. Why is the Labuhan Merapi ritual still being held? And what is the purpose? Javanese society is very thick with led by traditional leaders. The tradition is the extension of traditional ritual of ceremonies. In general, this traditional ceremony is carried out this ceremony that is sacred to the people of Yogyakarta in the proper palace structure done specifically wisdom and should not be done just anyone. The palace structure is a cultural manifestation. The means throwing away, dropping or washing away to objects that have been determined by the place so that the Sultan and his people get safety. For residents of Yogyakarta and around Mount Merapi, when this traditional ceremony is held, thousands of residents will walk through each procession. They walk along with the palace servant by bringing forth objects to hand over to their ancestors, namely Kiai Sabujagat. And the next is why Labuhan Merapi dan Labuhan Merapi is preserving culture and asks for safety from God Almighty for people under Mount Merapi. Labuhan Merapi is manifestation of the cultural tradition of Lencho village, which is always held annually. Mountain alms ceremonies have been encouraged since the leadership of the Boyolali region, Pak Muhammad Hardi. The mountain alms itself comes from the story of the Babat alas Mbak Petruk giving the kebonan or field, but in that area there is no kebonan, only the animal kebo or buffalo. The Labuhan Merapi ceremony is always held by the local community, and the Sultanate Yogyakarta has been passed down from generation to generation without reducing its sacred load. Labuhan can only be carried out on the orders of the king as head of government, head of kingdom, and customary holders. By the Yogyakarta place, Labuhan comes from the word labu, which means offering. The traditional ceremony of the Yogyakarta place is manifestation of a prayer offering to God for the grace and grace given to the place and its people, a sign of respect for the ancestors who guard Mountain Merapi. The Labuhan Peak ceremony is held at Mountain Merapi, but implementation of this traditional ceremony is also usually held in other places, such as Parangkusumo Beach, Mount Lawu, and Kayangan Levi. That's it for me, and the next slide will be presented by Anggun. Anggun, time is yours.
Oh, okay, thank you. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, now I will share about the goal of Labuan Merapi. Labuan Merapi is one of the traditional ceremony that is always done by Kesultanan Yogyakarta, with the main purpose is to seek tranquility, safety, and welfare of Sultan, Kraton, and the people, by offering in a certain place that has unique memories with regard to the ancestor of the king. To avoid unwanted things for the survival of human, the ancestor and Javanese people, especially in Kraton Yogyakarta, often held Labuan ceremony rituals. And then, symbolically and philosophically, Labuhan, it means, first, the implementation of Labuhan is a form of human thought, in this case, Kraton Yogyakarta, which become a belief in maintaining the harmonious relationship between human and the supernatural. The supernatural is manifested in the form of Kanjeng Ratu Kidul as ruler of Parangkusumo Beach and Kiai Sabujagat as the ruler of Mount Merapi. Second, it is a form of Javanese culture in an effort to find harmony with the surrounding nature. It means instead of having good relationship with each other, we need to have a good relationship with nature. And then, the ceremony can be seen as an introduction to Mount Merapi and phenomena that can be inflicted on the community, or as disaster mitigation. Natural disaster and their impacts are a phenomenon that must be addressed wisely. Disasters are not only caused by natural motion, but can also be triggered by bad human activity in maintaining the environment or a combination of the two factors. So Labuhan Merapi is expected to raise public awareness to love nature more and be sensitive to its signs, and always consider the balance of the environment in the exploitation of natural resources. Next slide, please. Next, who did Labuhan Merapi? Labuhan Merapi, led by Juru Kunci Mount Merapi, and then it was attended by Abdi Keraton Yogyakarta and Kinaharjo villager. And there are several values of local wisdom that we can learn. First, Labuhan Merapi is one of the real manifestation of synergy between nature, people, and plants in a cooperation with the aim of keep each other safe. Secondly, giving offering is requested so that the spirit participate in praying for the welfare of Yogyakarta. This indicates a good relationship between unseen and human, and believe that they exist and worship God. Then, the planting of kantil trees performed during the Labuhan Merapi ceremony. Pak Asih explained that the kantil tree means kumantil-mantil, so that people always close to nature. And the last, Labuhan Merapi also teach us how important tolerance, helping each other, do not discriminate, and sacrifice. This is proven by their willingness in climbing the steep mountain tens of kilometers. It doesn't look old, child, young, rich, and poor. They remain orderly in following the traditional ceremony Labuhan. That is for me, and next material will be presented by Dwi. Dwi, time is yours.
Thank you. Next slide, please. When a real Labuhan Merapi is implemented. Labuhan Merapi is held by the people in Mount Merapi at the foot of Mount Merapi in the Islamic New Year, namely 1 Muharram or 1 Surah. Next slide, please. The process of Labuhan Merapi. Labuhan Merapi is a traditional ceremony sacred to the people of Yogyakarta and around of Mount Merapi. The sacredness of this ceremony lies in the structure of the palace that must be done specifically, frequently, and should not be done by just anyone. The structure of the palace is a manifestation of culture that means to dispose of drop or immerse the object that have been determined by the palace in order for the Sultan and his people to get safely. One is handover of Ubah Rampe from Jogja Palace. The people of Yogyakarta and Mount Merapi, when Labuhan Merapi traditional ceremony is held, the citizens will together follow every processions of Labuhan Merapi. They walk with the courtiers with Labuhan object to be handed over the dead and ancestors, namely Kiai Sabu Jagat. They wear typical Yogyakarta clothes. Gatekeeper and all courtiers carry out all the processions of Labuhan Merapi traditional ceremony. The series of Labuhan Merapi ceremony began with the reception of Ubah Rampe from Yogyakarta Palace in Pendopo, Cangkringan, Sudir Street. The second is handover of Ubah Rampe to the gatekeeper Merapi Mountain. The handover processions of Ubah Rampe Labuhan from the palace to the gatekeeper of Merapi. Ubah Rampe Labuhan processions consist of 9 kinds of offering. They are Sinjang Kawung Kemplang, Destar Dara Muluk, Destar Undaraga, Semekan Gadung Melati, Semekan Gadung Seswangen, Arta Tindi, and Kampuh Paleng. The third is Arakan. Ubah Rampe will be carried to Mount Merapi and in the night at the house of the gatekeeper of Mount Merapi. In the evening, the process is Kenduri Wilujeng at Musola Palemsari, Huntara, Pelosok Kerap. The gatekeeper of Mount Merapi was led by the people of Yogyakarta and around of Mount Merapi. Then they went to Kinaharjo Mosque and to the location of the former home of the late Mbah Marijan. And the sixth is Wayang Show. The community will return to Polos Kerap Huntara, where the community is entertained by puppet art by Umbul Harjo Village Art Community. And the seventh, Pray and Tahlil. The recitations of prayers and tahlil night tirakatan led by the gatekeeper of Mount Merapi and the courtiers. The eighth is Napas Tilak. The processions of Labuhan Merapi then continued the journey to Alas Bandengan as the location of Labuhan Merapi, which was preceded by a trail in the former house of Mbah Marijan. And the ninth is prayed by Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono X. Towards the end, at Alas Bandengan Rampe Labuhan from Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono X was recite the prayer, and the procession became the culmination and closing ceremony of Labuhan Merapi. And the last procession is divisions of Uba Rampe. After the all processions is finished, then Rampe Labuhan is conscious by the community. They believe that by obtaining one of Rampe Labuhan Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono X, then they will get not only blessing but also sufficient in life. That's it for me. The next slide will be presented by Alvina. Alvina, time is yours.
Thank you, Dwi. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The locals respond to Labuhan Merapi rituals. Speaking of rituals, we cannot shy away from talking about the local residents' response toward these Labuhan Merapi rituals. As a famous ritual that was done annually, this Labuhan Merapi ritual never fails to attract the local residents to follow the procession of the rituals. How enthusiastic were they while following the rituals? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Before the pandemic, as can be seen from the picture, so many local residents show up to follow the procession of the rituals. They solemnly followed the Abdi Dalam step by step and waited until the rituals have finished to get a part of the Ubo Rampe. It was said that they want to get a piece of the Ubo Rampe either to be taken home as a souvenir or to be made as an amulet. They need to be patient while waiting for the Ubo Rampe to be distributed because usually the Abdi Dalam prioritize those who need it first or those who have booked for Ubo Rampe. After the pandemic, sadly, because of the pandemic that hit us since last year, the local residents couldn't get to experience the ritual temporarily due to the medical protocols. As can be seen from the picture, only the Abdi Dalam show up to do the rituals. They also have to wear masks and put spaces between them. Unlike last year, where the local residents got to be part of the rituals, only a handful of volunteers, military officers, and police officers were able to join the Labuhan Merapi rituals. Still, only 30 Abdi Dalam and the caretaker were allowed to go up to Bangsal Sri Meranti, the place to do the Labuhan. This is because the Merapi mountain is very active at the moment. That was why only so little can be allowed up there. Next slide, please. The benefits of doing the Labuhan Merapi rituals. There are so many aspects that can be discussed if we are talking about the benefits of doing the Labuhan Merapi rituals. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. First, from religious aspect. From a religious perspective, doing Labuhan Merapi rituals actually is a way to show gratitude and hope to God Almighty. For Muslims, doing the Labuhan Merapi rituals actually is their way to keep remembrance of their ancestor. When the Wali Songo tried to spread Islam religions through the use of art like wayang. Second, from cultural aspect. As an old tradition, Labuhan Merapi rituals is always connected to cultural aspect. The continuous rituals that were held before was a way for young generations to get to know their culture, and also they get to take part in this ritual in order to preserve the culture. Third, from economical aspect. Because of the large scale in which these rituals was held, there were so many tourists that also got interested in knowing the processions of these rituals. Thus, the increase of incomes coming from the tourism sector. Last, from safety aspect. By doing the Labuan Merapi rituals, they get to feel safe because it is in their belief that they will get protected from disaster. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the ritual of Labuan Merapi is being held to commemorate the reigning of Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono III as the King of Yogyakarta Palace and to seek protection from God Almighty so that they will be protected from disaster. That's all from us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for Anggun, Alvina, Lintang, and Febrianti who has discussed about disaster and culture approach. It's very interesting. They discuss about Labuhan Merapi, which is very beneficial either for religious aspect, culture, economical, or emotional aspect for the society. I believe that the participants must have questions, so you can hold on for the questions first until after the sessions. Meanwhile, you can type your questions on the chat box. Next, we are going to heading to the second sessions from Alida, Lisa, Fakih, and Anissa, who will discuss about childcare and education, parents as teachers during pandemic. Wow, very interesting. Without further ado, the presenters, the time is yours.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hope we all blessed in every single day. I would like to say thank you very much for attending our presentation. It's great to see you all. My name is Rozan, and I am here with Alida, Anissa, and Lisa. Today, we would like to present about childcare and education parent as teacher during pandemic. And here are our topics. Firstly, parents' role in pandemic situation. Secondly, how parents teach their children. And third, the impact for children from teaching method. And the last, what parents feel there when they teach their children. Okay. The parents' role is very necessary for the process of learning for children during the pandemic situation. Parents have been known to be a child's first teacher from the moment a child is born and as they mature into adults. The traditional role of parents involve teaching, guiding, and raising children to become strong standing members of their communities. As children begin formal education is concerned, parents are more of providers, ensuring that children have the needed provision and support to access education and learning. Since the pandemic started, the role which has initially been more by many of guidance formation of character or attitude, such as that relate to guiding children to be obedient to rule, lead to habituation in doing good, up to guiding associate with the development of mental and spiritual. Then its role plus be a companion to academic education for their children, and parents are now taking on a more support-oriented by role, supporting their children as they take on assignment and home projects. For the next material will be given by Alida.
Thank you, Rozan. Okay, how parents teach their children. The first is authoritarian. According to researcher, parents who apply authoritarian parenting in educating their children are because parents want the best for their children. Parents always want their children to obey their parents regardless of their children's feeling. And the second is authoritative. Tries to direct their children rationally, is oriented to the problems at hand, appreciates communication that gives that and receive each other, explain the rational reason that underlie each request or discipline that, but also use power when necessary. Expect children to obey adults, but also expect children to be independent and self-directed. Mutual respect between children and parents,
strengthen standard of behavior. Parents do not take an absolute position, but also do not base on the child's needs only. And the third is permissive. Next slide. And the third is permissive, characterized by high acceptance but low control of children. Parents tend to pamper and allow their children to do anything. And the next will be presented by Anissa Prasiwi.
Okay, thank you, Alida, for the time. And emotional and social condition are two examples that will be influenced by teaching method. How it's happened? In short, let's consider that authoritarian is teaching with pressure. Authoritative is teaching with democratically, and permissive is teaching by giving freedom. From here, we have a picture of the condition of children in each method. Let's jump to the emotional condition. In emotional condition, children with authoritarian parents will tend to rebel at the beginning, but will obey and become quiet in the end. This is because they feel that they can deny parents' desire, while children with permissive parents will show freedom of expression. They will rebel if their freedom is seized, even for their own sake. The last is children with authoritative parents. They will show a stable emotional condition because their parents direct them wisely and they have some opportunity to express opinion. So there is balance between children and parents. Next is social condition. Children with authoritarian parents will be close and difficult to express what they feel because they usually not heard by their parents, while children with permissive parents will good at socialize because they have freedom from their parents. But the negative side, they would forget their obligation as students. And the last is children with authoritative parents. They not only good at socialization, but also learning skill and self-control because their parents are not only oriented at academic, but also in social life. And the next topic will be presented by Lisa Rahim.
Thank you, Anissa. I will talk about our small research. We conducted a small research about parental responses to online learning. We used survey method. In this survey, we asked 3 main questions that include what challenge do parents have during online learning, and what is the impact of online learning to the children, and then what is the best learning method according to the parents. So here we find out the ease and the challenge of online learning. Let's jump into the ease first. The ease of online learning is parents can control their children while study at home. And as we know, we are in the coronavirus situation. We are not allowed to go to school and we have to stay at home. It means we are able to make sure that our families are safe. And then the challenge of online learning is about keeping their children focused on schoolwork instead of other online activities, and then balancing working from home and teaching. And then parents have difficulty in understanding the lesson and the technology used. Next, please. Okay, let's jump into more detail about this survey. We got several responses from parents from several professions, such as housewife, students, teachers, and employees. Next, please. The children that we meant here is the student elementary school from grade 1 until grade 6. We got 30% of parents of students at grade 5 and 7 and 4, and then we got 20% of parents at student grade 2 and 3. We also asked about the teaching times. We find out for 40% parents always teach their children, and then 60% of parents occasionally teach their children when they have homework. And what is the best learning method according to the parent? All population in the survey choose offline learning method or face-to-face learning method. Next, please. Okay, so what parents feel? We have two samples of story from parents. First of all is Ruby, a kindergarten teacher. She said the challenge of online learning is she has difficulty in understanding the materials and do homework and gadget challenges and lack of motivation from both from students and the school itself. And the children development is bad because the child emotion is still unstable and the lack of direct social interaction with friends and teachers makes children not excited about learning. And the second story from Yuli. Yuli is an employee. She said the challenge of online learning is about managing time for work and teach the children because she is an employee, especially she is a nurse.
From the student presenter from the same group, you can proceed. From the other student presenter from the same group, you can proceed. Continue the presentations. Okay, so I think the presenter from the second session have a technical issue, but we could catch what they say about how actually in this pandemic era, teachers plays important role in teaching their kids, and the participant must have questions either from for group 1 and group 2, so you can start asking questions on the chat box. Okay, we are heading to the Q&A, so be ready for the presenter 1 and presenter 2. I am going through the chat box. Okay, so there's questions from Hanatia from group 1. I guess the previous student presenter from the previous event talk. Questions to group 6, Faki Rozan. What factors that influence a parent's ability to actively contribute to a child's education? For group 6, you can answer.
Okay, I will answer that question. What factors that influence a parent's ability to actively contribute to a child education? Um, According to Howard Dempsey, the factor that influence a parent's ability to actively contribute to a child education are influenced by four constructs. The first construct is the parent, the parental role construction, which is shaped by the beliefs, perceptions, and experience of the parents. The second, if the invitational of parents by the teacher and schools to be active participants in the education of their children. And the third is the socioeconomic status of the parent, which influence the skill, knowledge, energy, and time availability of the parent. And the last is the self-efficacy of confidence derived by the parent from being an active participant. Uh, I only can answer like that.
Thank you. So we hope that it answers Hanatia questions. And the last one, I think I will take this question from Aulia to Anissa P, Group 6. Does it mean that authoritarian and authoritative parent teaching methods will always help the child to be smart? Anissa?
Thank you for the question, Aulia. The answer is no, because parents should know what kind of learning style that fit to their children, maybe visual, auditory, reading, or writing. So they will try to facilitate their children according with their learning style. That's all from me.
Thank you. So it was pretty interesting discussions how actually teaching children also has different approaches based on the children itself, based on the learning style. And I think personally, it based on how the children could absorb the knowledge. Yeah, so that were our first and second sessions. Next, we are heading to the third sessions. We are having a guest student presenter from Universitas Negeri Malang. Wow. It is Zakia and Eka who will discuss about Pembatja to Sebuah threat hybrid identity in Indonesian text. Well, from the topic, it already sounds really interesting. So please, Zakia and Eka, present your topic.
So, well, guys, thank you for the opportunity. And here I am Afwa Zekia and my friend Andita Eka Wahyuni. We are from Universitas Negeri Malang. We'll present our thoughts about Pembatja to Sebuah threat hybrid identity in Indonesian text. So, in this presentation, we're gonna do the first one is we will investigate the role of hybrid identity for an individual. And the investigation we will get from Indonesian text, which coming obscurity of partition, and consequently, the identity becomes loose. It assumes that there is no standard and the identity has no border at all, from Eng, Smith, and Levy. And then the result is a form of hybrid identity is a signifies the encounter conflict and or blending of two ethnic or cultural categories, which, while by no means pure and distinct in nature, when to be understood and experienced as meaningful identity labels by members of these categories. Lilo. And then next, we're gonna talk about translingualism, and Anita will present it to you.
All right. So in this study, the second framework that we use is translingual approach. Uh, the translingual approach provides a new paradigm where language differences are understood as a kind of diversity. It generally refers to language differences in various discursive practices by translingual speaker. It might seem similar with multilingualism, as it also refers to an individual who can use many languages. But translingual speakers do not switch their languages. Instead, they cross freely and moving between or among languages. Furthermore, they do it unconsciously, without noticing that they switch from one to another languages. Next slide, please. Here I would like to explain why we chose Indonesia dalam api dan bara as the data of our analysis. So, Tsja Pembatja, as you can see from our title, is taken from Indonesia dalam api dan bara. This book was published in 1947 and depicts the situation in Malang from 1941 to 1947. The highlight of the book is the situation during Malang Bumi Hangus. So if you have ever heard about Bandung Lautan Api, that's the similar thing. Aside from serves as a prominent historical book, this book also managed to depict the linguistic situation where translingual practice occurred. That is when the author was able to communicate using many languages. And the next one, we would like to explain about why we use a thread from Twitter that will be presented by my friend Aqua.
Thank you. And besides we use Indonesia dalam api dan bara or IDA books, we also use a threads from Twitter because we realize that we now live in the globalization era that brings a lot of convenience, such as in telecommunications. If Kwe Chiamching or the writer of Indonesia dalam api dan bara book wrote the idea of the sequence in Malang Bumi Hangus in the books, we can wrote that in social media such as Instagram, Twitter, etc. And here we're gonna choose Twitter because of this, yes, absolutely the product of globalization and be the one of our favorite platform to share news, ideas, thoughts, opinions, arguments, stories, and many more. And according to the expert, Twitter was chosen because it provides an opportunity to generate insights that can be widely applied as a platform or medium for text and visual expressions. So from this view, we notice that people usually use Twitter as a form to write a news or some things about thoughts, and they make a tweet or maybe thread as a related tweets before, and it can express themselves by the language used that they used. And we notice a lot of shifting such as Indonesia to English or English in as to Indonesia. And next, Andita will about findings.
Like to present our preliminary findings on how the author of Indonesia dalam api dan bara used this hybrid identity. So we found out that hybrid identity has allowed him to express proverb or saying in multiple languages, such as I've shown you in this slide. The author of the book used Dutch to say proverb. So in English, it means better to die standing than to live while kneeling. And then for the second example, the more souls, the more joy, isn't it? Doing this, we believe that by having hybrid identity, we believe that the author of the book can express sayings in its original language where that word originally comes from. Next slide, please. And then the second one, we found out that hybrid identity allowed him to make fun of others using different languages. So here I show you two examples. The first one, he used Hokkien language, and then the second one he used is Japanese. He said this in front of the Dutch soldiers that to which the Dutch soldier wouldn't understand what he said. And then the third one, next slide, please. And then the third hybrid identity allowed him to communicate with people from various backgrounds and cultures. So in the book, it tells how the author can communicate using different languages. And as in this example, the author became like an interpreter between Dutch soldiers and Indonesian people. So in this example, he mentioned itu kawan Indonesia tercengang ketika dengar saya gunakan bahasa Belanda. Dan ia menjadi lebih tercengang lagi waktu tahu maksud pembicaraan saya sesudahnya saya terangkan itu dalam bahasa Melayu. So he act like a mediational person between two groups who use different languages. From these current findings, we will say that in Indonesia dalam api dan bara, the hybrid identity is mainly used as a mediational tool, having not only a single identity, make the author of the book, Kue Tiam Ching, was better able to communicate with others and express himself in various manners using various languages. And then the next one, the findings from the Twitter will be presented by my friend Aqua.
Well, next we're gonna talk about the data analysis from Twitter. The first one, we recognize that the use of that shifting in hybrid identity is to catching attentions because of in the example we know that the example said disclaimer masalah pendidikan tuh banyak banget ya, jadi ini cuma mengaddress sebagian aja walaupun a quite significant part of it. And then we also notice that it can highlighting the introduction, such as the basic concept, the second basic concept, and etc. And we also know that the hybrid identity is can implied in the language can give the effectiveness in the writing, such as untuk feedbacks instead of saying umpan balik, the writers wrote untuk feedback, and then English is portrays an image of well-educated person. So the hybrid here also consists of the self-branding, such as not all people are able to speak English fluently. So if they use some words in English, so it portrays that they are well-educated. For example, soal hardernya sih mungkin beda-beda tiap orang, tapi yang pasti it's more than just knowledge sharing. Ada proses yang biasa disebut pedagogical innovations, and the last is showing modernity. So poinnya tuh gini, dua hal yang perlu dikuasai pas mau ngajar materinya dan isi otak studentsnya. Instead of saying murid, the writer wrote students to show that in globalization era, English is commonly used. And that's all about the data analysis that we have. We come to the conclusions, and Andita will deliver to you.
So coming to an end, we would like to conclude our study based on the preliminary findings that we have collected. We would say that the way individuals perceive their hybrid identity has made several changes from the past to the current era where modernity spread. The function becomes more complex from just a mere of mediational tool in communication, an image that brings the idea of modernity and intelligence. Sorry for the mistake there. The concept of technology, globalization, and modernity have changed the way people see their self-image. That's it from our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from student presenter from Universitas Negeri Malang. So yeah, actually the as we have dynamic era now, the one which also evolving is also language. One of them is hybrid language. So for participants who has questions about this topic, you can start typing your questions on the chat box while we are heading to the student presenter from IAIN Manado. We will hear about religion, the experiences of conflicts and its solutions, which will be presented by Novika Sari, Raihan, Anggi, and Ingrid. For the presenters, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity that has given to us, the group from Manado State Islamic Institute, Tarbiyah and Teacher Training Faculty, English Education Study Program. So let me introduce our groups. The first speaker is me, Novika Sarigobel, and the second is Muhammad Raihan Prabatahir. The third is Anggi Praditya Mobaya, and the last is Ingrid Arneta Datinsolang. Next slide, please. So, on this occasion, I will present about material or ideas about religion, the experiences of conflicts and its solutions. So I will start from introduction about clash of civilization. This is actually an understanding of the world talk by Samuel P. Huntington. He said that community identity and religious teachings will be the main source of conflict in the modern world. So this opinion is really relatable to current conditions because at this time, many people do not pay attention to hard power and seem unwilling to have anything to do with weapons warfare. And another fact is for the past 10 years, many parties pay great attention to identity, religion, and cultural issues. Next slide, please. So this is some interesting facts about religion. So the first is the religion issues has entered the realm of politics. Therefore, religion issues become a very sensitive topic on discussion. And the second is identity of religion can make a big thing. This is certainly true and can be seen from the impact of this identity case, which is still felt even though it has passed several years, and it's supported by constructivist theory. On this theory, it explained that things that have a big impact are not just interest, but exist, such as meaning, identity, and language. Next slide, please. So we move to the next chapter, is religion conflicts and its causes. So the first conflict is we take conflicts from Situbondo riot. It happened October 10th, 1995. So the incident started because of the masses were not satisfied with the 5-year prison sentence for the suspect, who is a Muslim, which is the maximum charge that can be handed down for the case of insulting Islam. And because of this dissatisfaction and his misunderstanding that the suspect is hidden on the church, the masses began to destroy and burn churches in Situbondo Regency. In the end, there are 24 churches in 5 sub-districts were burned or damaged, as well as several Christian and Catholic schools, a Christian orphanage, and shops belonging to people of Chinese descent. So the next conflict is religion conflict in Ambon. These principal causes of the conflict are attributed to general political and economic instability in Indonesia. The forthcoming division of the Maluku province exacerbated existing district political disputes. Further, and as the political dispute had been characterized all along religious lines, intercommunal fighting broke and between Christian and Muslim communities in January 1999. Sorry. Next, please. The next is the crisis in Rohingya, which happened since 1970 till now. So Rohingya Muslims are said to be, Rohingya ethnicity are said to be the most oppressed minority in the world, and their ethnic status is not recognized by the government. Since 1970s, nearly 1 million Rohingya Muslims had fled Myanmar, including to Indonesia, due to widespread and systematic state persecution. According to BHRN report, Myanmar military junta government and Aung San Suu Kyi have committed human rights abuses against Rohingya Muslims, including not recognizing them as citizens, destroying mosques and prohibiting them for repairing them, igniting anti-Islamic hate broadcasts, confining them to township camps through violence, deployed the Muslim Free Settlement campaign and launched military operations against Rohingya state Muslim in Rakhine state. Next, please. So the next is conflict between Muslims and Hindus in India, which has happened since December 2019 till 2020. And this is because the Indian Parliament passed a law that would grant Indian citizenship to immigrants from 3 neighboring countries, which is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, unless they are Muslim. Opposition parties say that the law is unconstitutional because it based citizenship on a person's religion and will further marginalize India's more than 200 million Muslim community. So the next part will explained by Anggi Praditya Mobaya. Time is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. We just heard that there's a lot of cases that happened in the past. So in order to know that cases, we have to know the causes. First of all, is the hate speech from certain people. What is hate speech? According to the Cambridge University dictionary, hate speech is a public speech that expresses hate or courageous violence towards a person or a group based on something such as race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. Hate speech usually thought to include communication of animosity or disagreement over an individual or a group on account of a group characteristic such as race, color, national origin, sex, disability, religion, or often sexual orientation. Next one is the cult of individual overreaction. Cult of individual or cult of personality is an act of an individual using technique of mass media, propaganda, big lies, in order to create an idealized, heroic, and worshipful image of a leader, often through unquestioning flattery and praise. This happened a lot in our country in Indonesia when someone need to make a movement, big movement into a politic, they often use this type of cult personality. Next, provocation or provocateur. This has same the meaning of the hate speech because it's linked between the hate speech and the provocateur. Provocation meaning the act of provoking or action or speech that makes someone annoyed or angry in order to create a conflict between one or two peoples, especially deliberately. Next, literacy emergency. We know that literacy is important for understanding and to knowing that there's a lot of religion. Just because lack of literacy can causes a lot of classes back in the day. Next, a lot differences within our region. As a human beings, that we are the social beings. We have to live together with another religion in a certain places. In order to identify the differences, we have to adding our literacy. So it always linked from the previous point. Next, opinion based on religious values to blame other religion. The meaning is apparently some of religion using their argument to provoke or to make something that look bad, but just in order in their opinion, not based on the other religion. It happens a lot in Indonesia, especially from the social justice warrior that claim they are open-minded, etc. So they are always using the same opinion to make an inflict battle between other religion. Next, the maturity of the state is still not comprehensive. I mean, there's a lot of people, old people that live in the deep of the village, that they're stating that their religion or their beliefs are the most true and the most powerful. So they won't accepting the other opinion that just newborn, that has been born newly, not from their age. So they have a maturity of the concept. Next, please. There's no tolerance in interfaith. This is the main reason, because if someone or a human beings that there's no tolerance in itself, so it can be just all the hate to mocking or to create that accident classes between a religion, because in religion there is always a lesson that not try to harm each other. Next. The word can be identified from religion. In this case, some of religion symbolize the nation. Example like Indonesia, we've been identified as the largest Muslim in the world, and Vatican is always been linked to the Christianity, etc. Religion has always been associated with politics and even used as a tool to achieve political goals. Religion is able to create clashes, become a tool of gaining power and conflict to the political level. Thank you for the chances and opportunity. And we are moving to the next slide. The next speaker is Ingrid Danton Solang. For you, the time is yours.
Thank you. Here's a solution so that we can respect each other. The first is intertwine tolerance. Placing love and love in the list of religion people by eliminating mutual suspicion of adherents or of other religions so that a peaceful atmosphere will be created. Next, realize diversity and respect each other. So when you want to be respected each other by each other, respect others first. You should treat someone who may be different in the same way that you would expect others to be nice to you. And next, prioritize similarities than differences. For example, we have similarities among the many differences, then we must always focus on these similarities. And next, the last, learn each other and communicate well. Don't interfere with other ideologies or religions' views, even if we have different opinions. So that's all. Thank you. And the next topic will be presented by Raihan Prabatahi.
Okay, thank you for the chance. Next slide, please. Okay, now we have moved on to the evidence sections. Here, we have put Manado as the first evidence of our arguments. Manado City has been declared as one of the most tolerant cities in Indonesia for 4 times in a row. This happens because the people here realize that living in a peaceful condition is unnecessary for a life or of a nation. For an example, you can see down 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 for example, you can see on the screen right now, there is a sentence which is Torang sama bersaudara. Torang sama bersaudara means we all are families. Manado known as pluralistic city. Okay, now we have moved on to the next slide, please. Okay, now we have moved on to the ring of peace for the second evidence. Ring of for Peace is the World Interfaith Meeting in Lindau, Germany. It representatives of dozens of religions and have dialogue to find solutions to conflicts that have plagued various parts of the world. Look, just by learning and communicating together can gather us together. And now this brings us to the last section of our presentation, which is the conclusion. The conclusion will be presented by Ingrid Datunsolang. Ingrid, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So the conclusion of our topic is the main cause is how does religion can cause conflict. The main cause is there is no tolerance. There are hate speech, provocation, and think that only one religion is superior. And the next, can religion conflict be avoided? The answer yes, it can be avoided as long as there is no hate speech between each religion and raise awareness to keep the priorities, similarities, and tolerance. With awareness, sorry, with awareness of the importance of tolerance in religion's life, it's hoped that a harmonious relationship will be established between citizens which will ultimately bring prosperity so society and accelerate. Thank you. And
So I think that's all for our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. Uh, Ingrid, please show the last. Uh, for Helen Keller, she said that the highest education is tolerance. So I will close this presentation by this quote. If God made religion had a noble purpose, who are we as the human who want to tarnish the noble purpose? Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for student presenter from IAIN Manado for discussing about the conflict of the diversity of religion itself. In my opinion, the diversity actually beautiful, but people sometimes misuse it. For example, it has been said that sometimes we use religions to become politic tools. So yeah, it's very interesting topic to discuss actually. So for the participants, I'm opening the Q&A sessions for the third presenter who discussed about the language hybrid, and also this last group who discuss about the religious and politics. So I am opening the floor to Q&A session. There's questions from Afia Yusuf for Novika Sari Gobel. As Novika said earlier, the issue of religion at this time is a sensitive thing. There's a lot of disagreement about manner when someone asks, "What is your religion?" to someone that they even don't know who is that. What do you think about someone who asks that?
Thank you so much for this question and also for this opportunity. So when someone asked, what is your religion? It maybe depends on our identity that we had. It's like I am wearing hijab or headscarf. So many people think that someone who wears headscarf is Islam, is Muslim. She's Muslim, you know, or someone who wear like gamis or something that that close our body from to the head to the foot. So it's like our identity. So I think it does not really become a problem when someone asks me what is your religion, because it depends on our identity that we wear or we use. And if maybe we don't at the time we don't use any identity, that identity is not a and many people maybe thought that you are Muslim, you're Muslimah, why you don't wear hijab, why you don't come to prayer at mosque, or some things that it is an obligatory for Muslim. And I think it doesn't matter when someone asking that, because yes, that is identity that we have to present to anyone that, or our religion we have to present to anyone that ask it. So it doesn't matter if I'm talk, sometimes it's a little bit sensitive, but yes, this is our religion. That's all.
Thank you. So I think the questions about what is your religion is pretty personal, and it will make different response differently from another people. But for Mbak Novikasari Gobel itself, she proud of her religions, that it is okay for her to be asked like that. But again, I think some of people consider asking religions as something that improper, but some of them could accept the questions. Thank you for the answers, Nafka Sari Gobel. So we are heading to the next questions. Maybe the participants who have questions could directly raise their hand and ask directly. Okay, maybe I would like to ask to the student presenter from Universitas Negeri Malang, Mbak Zakia and Mbak Eka. Hello, Zakia and Eka.
Hello.
Hello. So, actually, I was Duta Bahasa also in 2019. So, it's really interesting for me to talk about Bahasa and how it develops. What do you think about hybrid language? Does it make the real Bahasa, like the one we use every day, become eventually will extinct, or does it threat our like formal language that we used to read in KBBI, or what do you think? How hybrid language affects the formal language itself?
Okay, thank you for the questions. We know that here the problems of a person in globalization era is the shifting of language, such as Indonesia, and use another language in English or etc. Like in the past, we know that I have already read the articles about Bahasa Gado-Gado that told Indonesia in Suharto's era, it's very strict to the rule that Indonesia is the standard of Indonesianness, like menjadi Indonesia adalah dengan kamu menggunakan bahasa Indonesia dengan baik. But I think that with the influence of globalization, maybe using bahasa Indonesia it can be the act of like your identity as Indonesians. We know that in Duta Bahasa, for example, they also said this like slogan or motto Trigatra Bangun Bahasa, and it is mengutamakan bahasa Indonesia, menjunjung tinggi bahasa Indonesia, melestarikan bahasa daerah dan menguasai bahasa asing. I mean, from those all the language is it can be mastered by everyone because of we know that the nationalist people in the past time also was a polyglot, such as the Kue Ciamcing in the Indonesia Dalam Api dan Bara that has been delivered by my friends, and that is okay because of even though Kue Ciamcing is the Chinese descent, but he was Indonesians, and she shows the Indonesians through the language they use, even though she was a polyglot. So if we are living in the globalization era and we use Bahasa Inggris or maybe another language that you mastered in that field, I think that's okay. It's it's kind of I mean it doesn't decrease your identity to be Indonesians like that. It's my opinion. Maybe Andita wants to add.
Okay, I think that's okay. Thank you so much. So it's very debatable how actually using language could be the proof that I'm Indonesian, so I'm speaking Indonesia. But sometimes in, for example, international forum or international webinar, for example, we have to use bahasa Inggris, but it doesn't decrease our identity as Indonesians, right? So yeah, I think it depends on us and how we wise to use bahasa. For example, bahasa Indonesia or our traditional language, and maybe bahasa Inggris. Thank you so much for presenters from group from Universitas Negeri Malang and IAIN Manado. It has been such a great discussions. We are heading to our main sessions to be talking about the politics of humor and social constructions to deeper our discussions this afternoon. We will have Mr. Vincentius Tangguh, SPDM Home. Besides he is an English lecturer in Vocational College UGM, he is also an academic coordinator, media and material developer, and also operational manager. Mr. Vincent, are you there?
Oh, hello, can you hear my voice?
Yeah. Yes, sir. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'll share my screen. Oh, okay, somebody else should share it for me. Okay, today the idea of the thing that I'm going to talk about is the question that we all possibly already have as soon as you see the title. Is it possible to modify social life using humor? Is it possible that we can manipulate humor to help us navigate our social life? The answer is yes and yes, with precaution. I cannot share my own presentation because it's locked. Somebody can help that for me? Oh, no, I can. Yeah, sorry. Okay, here you are. Okay. Yes, there you go. Okay, to improve connectivity, I think to maximize the bandwidth, okay, yes, now. Okay, I'll go back to the previous question, is it possible to modify our social life to help us navigate our social life using humor? The answer is yes, with precaution. Today I'm going to talk about that. And to do that, there will be three parts in our presentation. First is the social aspect of humor. Secondly, things that you need to be aware of when you use humor in your social life. And the last one is how to actually make jokes, to do the jokes. Now, let's start from the first one. We are going to talk about, hold on. Okay, the social aspect of humor. In brief, humor is a social lubricant. It helps us to engage to create a bond between strangers. Humor is a way to disclose yourself, to express your feelings, things that you are not going to do that outside the joke context. Things that you are not going to do that outside the funny related context. Humor also helps you to voice your criticism in a non-threatening way. Humor also helps you to bridge discussion. For example, if you meet, yesterday, although I wasn't there, yesterday, there were different teams meeting for the first time, and then jokes helps the situation, because when others laugh, then you know that others are listening to you. That way, that is your hint to start with the more serious points. Humor also, there are other social aspects of humor. Humor helps strengthen a relationship. If you make jokes and then other genuinely laugh with you, sorry, and then you begin to feel that you enjoy being there in their presence, and others also enjoy being there in your presence. And then you feel that you make them happy, and then they feel that this is reciprocal. You feel that they make you happy, others feel that you make them happy. So in a way, it helps to forge the bond. Humor also save faces. Possibly you experience that. In my own experience, when I do something stupid, and then I sometimes make jokes that, oh, it's because of factor U, because of my age. I'm already 50. I say that several times for accidentally pressing the video while I should not be showing the interior of my house. I accidentally press off and I should continue talking. Or when suddenly connects, when I make phone call, suddenly it dies. I also apologize next day saying that it's because factor U. Although in reality, I might be only running out of quota. So jokes helps a lot. And probably you have the experience when you watch something. Let's say if you speak Japanese, you probably have seen Mama Lila or other videos or any, it doesn't matter what language you speak, what is your mother tongue. You probably have watched a movie, let's say Dono Kasih Indro Indro, old version of Dono Kasih Indro. If you watch it by yourself right now, you might think that the jokes in the movie is totally, sorry to say, lame. It's like, it's so crunchy, so garing. But when you watch with others, although it's so crunchy, you laugh. Why? Because laughter of others triggers your own laughter. It creates social bond. You feel that you are in a group, as one group enjoying something. So that's the power of laughter. Humor, jokes also helps to force relationship. So when you enjoy each other's company, sometimes or most of the time, you make jokes about something. although it's not something really funny, but you laugh because these jokes help forges relationship. Now, when we talk about from the point of view of evolution, why humor is considered something important. One of the theories is that when people is good at making jokes, it's good at when they are good at making appropriate jokes, then this humor signals intelligence, and people tend to think that humorous people are more attractive. So when you believe this research, okay, then you better start memorizing the jokes. Now, although we've seen that jokes can help you forge new relationship, joke helps you to iron difficult starting point for a discussion. There are negative, there are dark sides of jokes, and this part is that part. What the dark side that you should not be going, you should stay in the light side. Now, the first thing is attribution. When you make jokes, people, especially when it is cute joke, when it is appropriate joke, then people think that you are friendly or you are intelligent. Now, the problem is when you make, let's say, dirty jokes, then people might think that you are less friendly. You are not friendly to all sexes, perhaps. You are less intelligent. So make sure you choose your jokes, because perception that you create in others, you need to control that. Jokes and status. Now, let me ask you this question. If you, for example, you come to the office of Bu Dekan or Pak Dekan, and then Bu Dekan and Pak Dekan makes jokes, who laughs louder? Or if you are mahasiswa KKN and then you visit Pak Lurah or Pak Camat, and then Bu Camat, Pak Camat makes jokes, who laugh louder? I think the answer, you know that. Whoever laugh louder is Bu Camat or Pak Camat, or Bu Dekan and Pak Dekan. Because laughter has something to do with social status. The higher the status and the more you are open, the lower your status, and then you tend to inhibit your expression. As in the case as mahasiswa KKN, and then Pak Camat or Bu Camat made jokes, and then you just, iya Pak, because your social status is lower. Now, there is a warning here, okay? Humor can improve your status and also can lower your status. How come? When you can manage to bring forward an appropriate joke, then others will perceive as something positive, because the joke signals intelligence and confidence. It signals competence and also confidence. But how about dirty jokes, inappropriate jokes, and then the teller of the joke is very confident? You pose yourself in a situation that you might lower your status. How come? Because when you tell inappropriate jokes or dirty jokes, although you are confident, people still think that you are less intelligent or less friendly. So once again, this is a warning. Select your jokes. Now, jokes and dominance. Possibly you have the experience. We have insider jokes. For example, my wife and I have made jokes a lot between both of us about our kids. How our sons, the boys, when they speak Japanese, awkward. Their Japanese sounds awkward. It doesn't sound like a Japanese kids speaking Japanese. And we often make jokes about that between me and my wife. And then we laugh about it because our situation is higher than them. We feel that we have the power to judge their way of speaking Japanese. So this joke feels funnier because we feel that we have more dominant situation. We are within the dominant group and we evaluate or we make fun of other groups that we see as lower, less dominant than us. So we see our kids as lower than us and then we feel it's funny. Now, one thing that we need to remember, this situation can make us forget that some of the jokes can hold prejudice, about, in this case, for example, our jokes about our kids, their speaking Japanese is weird, awkward, it doesn't sound like natural native speaker of Japanese. It may hold prejudice that may hurt the feeling of our kids. That it's like our kid is like being told that you are Japanese kids, but you cannot speak Japanese properly. So it might hurt that feeling. So this is a word of warning that inside jokes about other groups can hold prejudice, and we might forget that this is prejudice. This is view that is not always correct. Now, we might have that, okay, other jokes about other ethnic groups, other religious groups. Again, this may hold prejudice. This may not be correct, and this might hurt the feeling of others. Similar to jokes about different camps. Since 2014, our nation had to face a new fact that we are divided into two camps, political camps. Now suddenly we are Americans, Republican and Democrats, and then each has their own jokes, not our. I don't want to be part of it. Each camps have their own jokes, and its jokes in its camps is funnier to those people in the camps because they feel that they have more power or situation compared to others. And once again, the jokes or the view carried, expressed in the jokes is not always correct, and it may hurt feelings. I don't need to talk about bullying. We all know that bullying is something bad, but we might do that because why we may bully others and we don't feel like doing. We are not aware. Again, the dominance theory. When you feel that you belong to the dominant groups, sometimes you make jokes about other groups that are less dominant. Again, I'm talking about example. Okay, again, example is my wife and I make jokes about our kids who we think that are less dominant than us. In that way, we bully our kids. This is a word of precautions for us. Okay, stereotyping. What is stereotyping? Stereotyping again is the view that is not always correct. We've seen a lot of stereotyping in our popular cultures. I'm Japanese, okay. I like to use these examples because it doesn't offend me at all. Japanese people in popular medias often portrayed as housemaid or driver or someone gullible. Okay, so that's the stereotype that we often see, watch, or hear on social or on popular media. It's not always true, of course. Now, there are sometimes we will make jokes about stereotypes. Now, as you can see on your screen now, it is a joke that is based on a stereotype. Stereotype about all people. All people are perceived as people who are polite, nice, and kind. Mostly polite and very, very nice. Now, this joke goes like this: a prominent political leader visited an old home for old people, and then inside one of the room, the old person offered the political leader food. In this case, peanuts. And then after being offered 3 times, eventually the person took the peanut and eat it, and then asked, "Why didn't you eat the peanut?" And then the old man says, "Oh, no, I cannot." "Why?" "Because I just like the chocolate around it." So it was the peanut comes from M&M, and then the old man ate the chocolate and left the peanuts and then offered to the person. So the joke works because it's based on stereotypes that all people are nice and polite. In this case, it's not true. Now, again, jokes exposing stereotype, humor exposing stereotype, makes us less sensitive to problem. For example, we make jokes about racism or sexist joke. It may pose us if you listen to that kind of jokes, and then eventually you can enjoy the jokes, then it will lower your sensitivity about the problem. That is the danger of that kind of joke, because then you feel or you perceive the problem with racism, problem with the sexist jokes. It's not a problem, or it's not that severe. Now, that is the problem with jokes cashing on really important issues. It makes us less sensitive towards the issues. But jokes that is cashing on those kind of issues, racism, sexist jokes, even hate speech in jokes. But if you don't like the jokes, then you are not affected. But if you actually like the jokes, then that can be a problem because you become less sensitive towards the actual problem. There is also different kind of jokes, knowing that there is a problem with prejudice, with racism. Then some people think that why don't we lower others barrier and making it jokes to make people aware of the problem. Now, this is called subversive humor. Subversive humor is that making jokes about attitudes, stereotypes. That is not true. But the idea is not to make fun of it. But the idea is to make people aware of the problem. The example is on your screen. What do you call a black guy who flies a plane? Okay. And then if a person is racist, then they are expecting a joke about a black guy flying an aeroplane. But this joke has twist in the punchline. a pilot you F-word racist. So this joke is meant to warn us that if we expect a joke about a black guy flying plane, then you are a racist. Any person flying an aeroplane, even a robot flying an aeroplane, they are pilots. This is subversive joke. A word of warning: you need to be careful when you try to warn people of the danger of racism, prejudice using subversive joke, because you pose yourself in danger of others misunderstand you. Others think that you are trying to make jokes about the very problem you try to fight. That's the danger that you pose. But it's true, according to research, that subversive jokes helps people, even the racist ones. They lower their guard and then helps them think. The pilot jokes is a good example. If you are racist and then you expect something funny about black guy flying an aeroplane, and then the punchline gives you a bucket of ice that you are racist because any guy flying a plane is a pilot. Okay, now the third part of my my presentation is how to actually make jokes. There are three parts in joke creation. There are several different theories. If you are into semantics, into sociolinguistics, then you will find out there are a lot of different theories about jokes. Now, I'll take one of the most popular ones and also simple ones, is that the joke works because there are three components: settings, false expectation, and then the punchline. The setting is the context. The who makes the joke. The who is the target of the jokes. Situation, location, place, time. The false expectation is what we reader audience expect, but we are led to false expectation. And then the punchline is the final line that reveals that our expectation is wrong, reveals that the expectation of the audience, the listener, is wrong. So this is an example, okay, of those three stages, okay. This is a very popular meme. The setting is the dialogue between the captain and then the group of people. I will not pay the bill. Why not? You order 42 coffee. So as the audience, as the reader, we expect that there should be consequences for not willing to pay for 42 coffees. It's a lot of coffees. It's a lot of coffee cups. 42. How many people it takes to drink 42 cups of coffee? And it costs a lot, especially when one cup, let's say, it costs like 50,000, 40,000 in a typical coffee shop. Then that should go to a lot of people, a lot of numbers. So as an audience, we expect there should be consequences. Now, the punchline, it's really different from our expectation. The punchline is the captain did not say 42 cups of coffee. It's only 4 cups of tea and 2 cups of coffee. So how the joke works? Now here I have more jokes, and it works the same way. You have the settings. Let's say, for example, here, never criticize someone until you have walked a mile in their shoes. Okay, we expect that this is something very deep, very philosophical. But the punchline reminds us it's something cynical. In fact, it's criminal. That way, when you criticize them, you'll be a mile away and you have their shoes. So it's the punchline reveals that our expectation is wrong. We thought that this is something deep, something that philosophical, but it turns out it is not. Or the joke under that, a bear walks into a restaurant. He tells his waiter, I want a grilled cheese. The waiter says, what's with the pause? And then the bear says, what do you mean? I'm a bear. I have paws. So the pause in the first part is different from the pause in the second part. The pause of bear and then the pause in the sentence. So how it works? Setting, false expectation, and the punchline. Now, the my presentation today is basically it's not a paper. Instead, it is designed for a class or a program. So the last part here is, of course, for a program. In this case, for a language class. Now, this part is not that important to you because it's, if you need to tell a joke, then you can say, oh, that reminds more joke. If you already memorize some jokes, to start the joke, then you say this word. If you can see a window of opportunity for you to tell a joke, then you say, do you want to hear a good joke? Or you say, oh, have you heard a joke about? Okay, something like that. And then, okay, now this is something that I think is more important. Comments people typically make when hearing a joke. If they like a joke, they compliment the joke. But if they don't like it, if they say that, oh, that's bad, then you need to explain or you need to apologize. Perhaps it offends them. Perhaps it is not acceptable. Then you need to explain and apologize. Okay, okay, this one is not that important. I think that's all my presentation today. And to summarize, you can use jokes to help you navigate social life, helps you to manipulate social situation so that the joke goes your way. It helps you to iron difficult beginning of discussion. It helps you to forge relationship. It helps you to create certain image that you are someone friendly, likable. By selecting your joke, make sure that your joke is not something dirty, containing prejudice, containing stereotypes, containing racism, then you might or you will be perceived as someone honest, someone intelligent, someone attractive. Okay, thank you. I think that's all. I'll return the forum to the MC, to Mbak Ninda.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. If Mrs. Johanna said in her earlier opening remark, you are the most rich of humor lecturer in our study program. So I guess you are very good at using humor as the tool of communications, as reshaping who you are to be likable to people. Yes, sir. So for the participants who has questions, you can directly type on the chat box. It's very interesting. I would like to discuss about. I watched one of these televisions programs, and the programs was about roasting menteri, Sarah. So making jokes out of the menteri and how the government works and stuff. How do you see that phenomenon?
There are a lot of jokes about that. If you like to watch BBC, they have a lot of jokes about their own political leaders, about their own government. And the people likes it because the people uh, needs a way to release their stress. If they are not satisfied with their leader, with their government leader, with the performance of the government, they need to release it, and they find that comedians help them to release the stress. So if you see that way, the comedian, all those comedians do a public service. It helps to reduce the tensions. But of course, not all political leaders can take that such jokes. Uh, let's say 10 years ago, such jokes, uh, there was an incident with jokes about political leaders during previous presidency. If I'm not mistaken, okay? But the more you are exposed to that kind of situation, the more people on our own political leaders, they become more open. And I think it's a good thing because it builds our democracy. If there are no comedians, I think there is tension in the people and they need to be released, and the comedian helps to release the tensions. I think that's how I can explain the station. BBC is a good example. It's really funny.
Yeah, so I think humor can also be used to fulfill the democracy itself, to criticize the leaders, because sometimes when the critics come through jokes, the recipients, or we are talking about the leaders, could be more relaxed to a shift to process the critics. So yeah, it's very interesting. Last questions to close our sessions today from Amba. Can we use humor for therapy purposes?
Okay. Oh, for therapy. What kind of therapy? Maybe could you be more specific? Is it because we have different kinds of challenges. Like for example, people with pre-symptoms of Alzheimer, then they also can use some therapy. Pets, for example, helps them, and then if they can still listen and understand us, jokes helps because it builds connection. So if you can be more specific about the therapy, that will be good. We can also say it is a therapy when for example, jika mereka mengerti maka. Oh yeah, okay. There are different kind of therapy ya. Jadi masalah kan there are different kind of problems, social problems, for example, problems with the community. For example, the community cannot see that COVID is real. COVID is an actual threat, and memes helps us realize that. Memes, there are several different memes, are problems with heated arguments. Okay, heated arguments. I'm talking about Gotham Chess and Dewa Kipas. Okay, after Iren Iskandar won, Gotham Chess becomes more relaxed, and the memes, Squidward, SpongeBob, and what is the name? The star, Patrick. Okay, SpongeBob, Patrick, and then Squidward's peeping through looking through the curtain from inside the room, and then Gotham just enjoy the joke and becomes more relaxed and more open to people. So in that way, jokes help release tension. Joke helps becomes the remedy to a situation. And in fact, Gotham Chess even asked what when people start talking about Dewa Kipas got 100,000 uh, 100 juta, and how much? 200,000 uh, cut to 200 millions, okay? And then Gotham Chess complain about that, and then Indonesian people wrote, kalau iri ngomong aja bos. A lot of people wrote that, and Gotham Chess asked, what does it mean? And then Gotham Chess, when he was told that it means that if you're jealous, just say so. And then Gotham Chess laughed about it and said, yes, I'm jealous. Okay, so that way, jokes, humor helps to release the tension, reduce the stress, and helps to mend relationship. That's I can say about these questions.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So we are running out of time, but for whoever wants to have further discuss, maybe we will have another opportunities to discuss about humor and how actually humor could be also that beneficial. So thank you so much, Pak Vincent, for here discussing with us. It was such interesting discussions talking about politics of humors and social constructions. Thanks once again, and we are heading to the photo session. So I invite the participants to turn on their camera, and we can take the photo. For Mbak Rochwa or another technical community could take over.
Okay, everyone can start to turn on your camera, and I'll be writing. Is everyone ready?
Yes.
So I'm going to counting down. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Once again for the next slide. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for Pak Vincent once again, the student presenter from UGM, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and IAIN Manado. I hope we can see you in another event talk. Goodbye. You can leave the meeting. And also don't forget to fill in the forms.